If after watching Stranger Things you suddenly found yourself craving a Whopper or wondering why everyone is obsessed with Eggo waffles, trust me, you're not alone. The show might be set in the 80s, but the product placement game is very 2020s. So today, let's take a fun dive into just how many brands have quietly, or not so quietly, made their way into Hawkins, starting with Pentax. Now, if you paid attention, you would know that Jonathan Byers treated his Pentax camera like some holy sidekick. As the socially awkward kid that he was, the show gave him his camera as some kind of outlet. It was his way of observing the world, capturing the weirdness around him, and sometimes accidentally photographing things he probably shouldn't. Anyway, Jonathan was not only the character who gave Pentax some screen time. In Season 3, we saw some Pentax binoculars when Dustin and Steve were looking for evil Russians in the mall.
You know what I'm looking for. Evil Russians. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what an evil Russian looks like.
Well, that wasn't the only retro tech gadget that made it onto Stranger Things. Chances are that you have heard of Sharp. You know, the brand that your parents probably trusted for every TV, radio, and calculator in the house. Emphasis on your parents, because these are definitely last generation classic electronics. But it fit the Stranger Things vibe so well, we just had to include them in this list. Smart had a total of 1.5 minutes of screen time, starting with a microwave in the first episode. Then we got the Sharp radio, which actually popped up twice. First in episode 1, and again in episode 3. And finally, a cash register to complete the small town appliance tour.
Can I try the peppermint stick?
Now, I initially did not want to mention brands like Nikes and Adidas, because I mean, they have to wear shoes, don't they? But Stranger Things didn't exactly keep things subtle.
It's a lot for anyone.
Starting with Will and his unhinged obsession for Adidas at this point, it was less wardrobe choice and more personality trait. Because the monsters were changing, the plot was plotting, the entire world was falling apart. But those Adidas stayed locked in. Even in the Season 5 premiere, when they gave us that little flashback of young Will trapped in the Upside Down. Guess what he had on? Yep, the same faithful Adidas. And that pushes my agenda that monsters may change, but the drip stays eternal. You might need to squint a little, but I assure you, those are Nikes, alright? And for people in the back who are probably thinking, well, they had to wear something, not everything is a promo, you might need to slow down. Because before Season 5 even dropped, Nike announced a whole collection with upside down logos. Wonder where that idea came from. But that's enough about shoes. Let's talk cars. Because the product placement budget did not stop at footwear. And the big brand that practically strutted onto the screen like it owned Hawkins was the Cadillac.
All right, hop in. Hey, this is a police emergency, all right?
I won't mind commandeering a 1984 Cadillac Eldorado myself, you know, for the culture. And that bad boy covered nearly 3 whole minutes of screen time in this episode alone. And you can't really blame them. That was one sweet ride, right, Hopper?
Hey, what station? You're doing the right thing!
Now, hold up. We are going to zoom back into that first clip. There's something we missed the first time. Keep your eyes open for that 7-Eleven signboard in the background. And right on cue, another brand moves into Hawkins like it pays rent. And at this moment, it probably does. But don't get distracted now. We are still talking about cars, and the Cadillac wasn't the only 4 vehicles to get some screen time. Chevrolet also had major screen time in Stranger Things, and for them, it was not a one-off thing, more like a cheat code. I mean, Hopper literally owned a 1987 Blazer SUV Chevrolet, so it appeared in all but one episode in Season 1. But it wasn't just Hopper. Billy arrived in Season 2 and 3 with his 1979 Camaro. And they kind of went overboard with Billy's Camaro. It actually became a supporting character at some point. And I mean this both figuratively and literally. Remember when Billy was possessed by the Mind Flayer? And he used his car to pursue his victims and transport them to Brimborn Steelworks? I don't know the kind of PR Chevrolet was going after with that stunt. Maybe a subtle message that their cars are strong and perfect for supernatural chaos? Well, moving on. Let's talk about Burger King. Because if Stranger Things taught us anything, it's that Hawkins runs on more than just monsters. It runs on food. 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 Someone was almost always snacking. I mean, a show that had Jake Connolly featured as Derek Turnbow. So Burger King made sure to get its moment in the spotlight. Observe. All it takes to have a successful interrogation is not torture or threats. Nope, just a burger from Burger King and strawberry Slurpee.
Alexi, the generators, what are they powering?
Important to mention that Burger King did not have to share the spotlight with a zillion other food brands. We're talking Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Forgot about the time, and then before you know it, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock.
And Surfer Boy Pizza, which played a surprisingly big role in season 4. Remember Jonathan's friend Argyle, the resident pizza chain employee? He literally borrowed the restaurant van to help the gang take down Vecna. I mean, who knew fast food deliveries could lead to monster fighting missions? But if we're talking about the top brand, the one Stranger Things basically shoved down our throats, you know we're all probably thinking the same thing, Coca-Cola. I don't know how they did it, and I don't know how much they spent, but I wouldn't be surprised if we were this close to seeing Coca-Cola Presents at the start of every episode instead of the Netflix logo. In Season 3, Episode 7, during a life and death scenario, Lucas somehow thinks it's the best time to compare the new Coca-Cola to the classic.
No question about it. But the remake?
Or the time Eleven decided to practice using her powers on a can of Coke because nothing says superpower training like crushing a can of soda. And you could say they got their money's worth because, based on a conservative estimate of the show's viewership, this exposure was worth $1.5 million in just the first 3 days the show has been available on Netflix. That figure is completely justified everywhere you look. Coke.
The cops should just lock him up forever. Did you see the look on his face?
Yeah, sure. Why use a pack of ice when you can just use Coke? We're still on aggressive food advert placement street. And one thing Stranger Things is known for is Eggo waffles. I've got a tiny confession. Before Stranger Things, I wasn't really into Eggo waffles, but as the Team 11 cheerleader I am, I quickly started enjoying them on a daily basis. Okay, not daily basis, but you get my point. Seriously. The way the show puts those waffles front and center, you can't help but crave them. Between Eleven's love for them and every other scene featuring a perfectly toasted Eggo, the series basically turned this humble breakfast snack into a pop culture icon. From Elle's first introduction to Eggo waffles,
Really, it's no big deal. We'll just pretend to meet each other again.
to her stealing a couple boxes for herself while she was on the run.
What should we do?
Call the police. Excuse me, young lady, you know you have to pay for those.
Eggo waffles kept appearing all through the series. It was what some people would call a running gag. Even in the season finale, when everyone thought Elle was dead, Hopper still held on to hope, so he left out some Eggo waffles as proof that he believed she was still alive. Honestly, if waffles can't bring someone back from the upside down, I don't know what can. Though a side of syrup might help speed things along.
Sorry.
Okay, maybe that's a little too much syrup, Erica. By the way, that is Mrs. Butterworth syrup, which of course is another careful product placement. Don't mind my flawless transition. And this is nowhere near the end of the list when it comes to food brands that made their way to Stranger Things. The show is full of it. For example, we have Cheetos.
Who's Mad Max?
Better than you.
Is it you?
You know I despise Dig Dug.
Then who is it? Yeah, spill it, Keith.
You want information, and I need something in return.
Dr. Pepper made an appearance too, thanks to Bob. We also had cans of Mountain Dew, even though one was knocked off the table by Dustin after losing at Hellfire Club. And one of the most intelligent product placements, in my opinion, was for Jiffy Peanut Butter. The time Hopper had just escaped from the Russian prison, and he found a box full of the stuff. The satisfaction on his face, it does something to you. Next up is Casio. Now this one is a bit tricky because, unlike Coca-Cola, which had some kind of Coke hold on every character, see what I did there? Coke hold? Casio was a little sneakier. Only 3 characters wore a Casio watch throughout the entire show, and that's Mike, Dustin, and Hopper. But somehow Casio still managed to gather about 8 minutes of screen time. That's even 3 minutes more than Coca-Cola. It looks like in Hawkins, even a watch knows how to make every second count. I am on a roll. Mike wore a CA53W1, and believe it or not, that was every kid's dream watch back in the 80s. And by every kid, I meant every nerd kid. It had the entire geek package. You know, a calculator in case you need to solve a math equation on the go, and wait for it, it could store whole numbers too. It was the Rolex of nerds.
No! Don't you think you should be there? For Will?
Focused on the bad boy on his hands. Hopper had his Casio too. He wore the A15AW. I want to say that it was every cop's dream watch, but I don't know that for sure. And in this channel, we only provide you with verified facts, and by the way, this is definitely not a placement ad of our own. And when we talk about legendary product placements in this show, we can't leave out the face of Season 3, Starcourt Mall.
Go, 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 go! Be careful! Go, go, go!
I know. There are much better views of the mall, but this one captures the context in the show. A lot of major brands have made it inside of this mall, featuring Gap, Radio Shack, Walden Books, and many more. A lot about this mall and its inclusion in Stranger Things was all fascinating. The fact that it was built to hide the Soviet Union's construction of an underground base, which was to serve as a space to create a gateway to an alternate dimension. But also to sneak in some product placements. Am I right?
Hey.
And speaking of the big guns, some things go beyond product placement entirely. Take Dungeons & Dragons, for example. That wasn't a brand being featured. That was the backbone of the show. It shaped the language, the monsters, the friendships, even how the kids understood the horrors they were facing. They went past advertising and straight into mythology.
Boom! Protect!
It was an anger! Fireball! And fireball! Where'd it go?
Stranger Things has generated tens of millions in brand placement value, with Season 4 alone creating over $27.5 million for brands like Coca-Cola and Jif, while Season 3 earned about $15 million. The list of brands that found themselves in Stranger Things are endless, but there's something much more interesting behind all of this, and this might shock you. Now, you see Burger King's hamburgers repeatedly shown in the episodes. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Probably that Burger King paid a truckload of money to make this happen, right? Wrong. After Season 3 of Stranger Things aired, a Netflix official came forward to confirm that there was no agreement with Burger King for a product placement, and it wasn't just Burger King. They repeatedly shoved a lot of these brands in our faces and did not collect a dime for it. Now, you shouldn't think that they are just leaving a lot of money on the table. Netflix and Stranger Things had a different idea to monetize from these brands. Remember that Nike Upside Down collection they released just before Season 5? Yeah, that's their strategy. They combine with these brands to create exclusive merchandise, limited edition collections, and even co-branded products that fans couldn't resist. Basically, instead of charging for a simple logo appearance, they let the brands do the heavy lifting, while Netflix and the show cashed in on fan obsession. And trust me, it worked brilliantly. Baskin-Robbins literally turned one of their outlets into a real-life Scoops Ahoy for 2 weeks. So there you have it. When it comes to placement ads in a show, Stranger Things took it to a whole new level. But they also kept it very nostalgic for us, and honestly, that was very soothing for me. But I don't know. We all have different opinions. What do you think about the product placements? A yay or nay? Let me know in the comments section below.